Carthage is marching to war, and today they fight a mighty foe, a foe that stands in their way of total domination. Hey, how's it going, guys? My name is Jackie Fish, and welcome back to some more Total War Rome 2 using the Dividi et Impera mod. This mod goes ahead and brings a ton of amazing stuff to Rome Total War, and if you haven't heard of it already, I highly recommend you go and check it out. It's on the Steam Workshop, and it is definitely one of the greatest mods for Total War of all time. At least in my opinion, I absolutely love the mod. So in today's battle, we have the Impera going up against the Carthaginians, and this is kind of like a what-if match. What if Carthage made it through the Colosseum tournament to face the Impera? Could they go ahead and take them down and claim a victory? Really looking forward to this match, as Carthage is definitely one of my favourite factions in the entire mod, so I'm hopefully going to see them do some crazy stuff. However, the Impera are the faction that came very close to winning it or won. I can't remember if this is KWC or not. Either way, this faction made it all the way to a final. I can't remember who actually won the tournament, whether it was Dacia or the Impera. But either way, they're going to have a lot of their work cut out for them. However, they are bringing a very mighty army. Over on their front line, they do have a ton of the Sacred Band. These are the late period Sacred Band as well, so they are ultra scary, ultra elite, will basically dominate anything in the center. Even the Roman infantry will have a very hard time dealing with these guys. However, the Impera do have their two trusty bolt throwers, which will be racking up some good kills on these Sacred Bands, so it can be very interesting. Also, this is going to mean that the Impera have to win this battle on the flanks. There is no way they are breaking like more than that, like 9 units of these Sacred Band whatsoever. Take a look at the rest of the Carthaginian army on their flanks. They do have some of these cheaper, lighter spears, and this is going to mean that their flanks are going to be weak because they spent so much money on that central component of their force. Again, their flanks are going to be weaker, which will obviously be good news for the Impera because that's where they have to win the battle. And then obviously we do also have some more units of these Iberian champions. These guys are actually really good, so not exactly super weak. They have 19 melee attack. Where they really get let down is going to be in their melee defense and their kind of capability of just holding the line and surviving. There is also 3 units of Libyan archers. Again, I like seeing some cheap archers brought into the mix, especially when you've got such an elite front line, which is going to be taking up a lot of your money. Using these guys to obviously try and snipe out the artillery is going to be a must, because already this unit on this side has already lost 40 Sacred Band. These bolt throwers need to be banned. They are just so broken and boring in a tournament, I'm not going to lie. Luckily, this isn't a tournament, this is a friendly game, but still. Again, we also have some heavy elephants on that flank, and then we're going to be stacked with a ton of cavalry on either side, heavy shot cavalry. Then for the Impera force, we do again have them 2 bolt throwers, which I do despise. Their medium bolt throwers are going to be supported by some of these Helvetia spears. These guys are going to take up a large amount of the front line. As well as that, we also have some of the Celtic Hellenic hoplites as well on this front line. So again, a decent force that can form phalanx and basically just hold the Sacred Band in place. The real strength of this roster is going to come on. I'm surprised we're not seeing much Oathsworn on this side. We do have some Oathsworn, which are going to cut through most of the Iberian champions. Surprised we're not seeing a bit more though. There's a lot of spears in this army, which I would assume there wouldn't be as much. But again, these spears can definitely help reinforce the cavalry fights, which is going to be super important in this matchup. Again, a lot of both sides definitely generally do bring a lot of these hoplites to the battle, even though you don't really think of it with the Impera hoplites. Pretty much in every matchup, they do bring their elite spears that form phalanx and basically hold the front line. So that cavalry fight is going to be super important to see who does win that. So yeah, let's go ahead and get this battle started. And as you can see already, the Carthaginians have really split up their flanks. Their left flank has gone extremely heavy. We've got a massive line of these heavy melee sword infantrymen supported by a wealth of cavalry. This does also mean that the right flank is a little bit weaker, but that's what these guys are basically here to do. As well as that, the general is getting sniped out right now, already losing 30 men. Which really needs to be brought back, because if he loses his general this early on, that's not good. And he is just in range as well, so he can quite easily bring his general out of range. I guess there's a bit of a lapse right there. A heavy spear throw going in onto these Celtic spear warriors. Again, this spear unit is pretty smartly placed out here. I think the whole purpose of this is to take all the javelins from these sword infantrymen, as they don't really want to take it. The Iberians do throw several javelins in, so I think that's why this unit is out there kind of much further out, because it's much better to have one unit get decimated than kind of the rest of your units all getting hit up. As well as that, this artillery is continuing just to fire around which is going to obviously force the Carthaginians to make some pressure because, again, these bolt throwers up to 138 kills on this unit and then also 88 on this one. And I definitely do understand that, like, these bolt throwers do cost money. They take up a slot and stuff, but I think they're just so good as they have the ability just to kill really expensive units, whereas nothing else in the game really can unless it is also expensive. But maybe they are priced effectively, and we'll have to see if that does play out. But there we go, the Sacred Band's now finally engaging, and I'm excited to see how much these guys do. Even this unit on the left flank, let's remember that this unit on the left flank is very much depleted. I want to see how well they do against the rest of these guys. So missile fire going out from both sides. Again, I would be trying to really push my missiles into range of these artillery, and that's why I definitely do favor the slingers. Again, as Carthage, you can get some pretty long-range slingers, and you can see them immediately making their way over to snipe this artillery piece. And that's why I kind of prefer the slingers, because they have a really good capability of picking these guys out pretty quickly and just hitting them at range. Again, these guys have 365 range. Iberian slingers have about 215, I think. So again, you can really hit these guys and take them out and kind of trade pretty effectively, because unless these guys can get like 171 kills like they have now and you get all your missiles on them, the Iberian slingers will melt them in a couple volleys. You know, all of a sudden you've really changed that. I mean, you also have your slingers still left alive. Over on the left hand side, though, we are getting some infantry charged in, though the champions finding themselves engaged, however not wanting to overextend against the Oathsworn and obviously these Helvetii spears who can form this pretty deadly phalanx formation that they have done. And yeah, you can see how effective these missiles are. So again, if you had some slingers hitting these guys early on, I think you would decimate them, but obviously the player would just bring them back in a proper tournament match, that is for sure. A really nice play there on that flank, and again we are seeing more of the Sacred Band doing a pretty decent job right now, racking up some very nice kills. Again, they do have that quality, 42 armor on the Sacred Band compared to the 29 onto the Helvetii Celtic hoplites. However, not all of these guys are micro perfectly, and this could be a better front line, honestly. They would much prefer, rather than these kind of units that are a little bit tilted, they obviously want to get as many of their soldiers in as possible so that they have more of their higher quality units fighting straight on. So I don't know if this is a bit of a mistake, or maybe this is planned and this is the way you do things. This gives you a better advantage because you break through like a section of the line a bit more effectively. I would assume you'd want more of your units in on this. And obviously you do have to micro your units as well. We are seeing the champions, though, being thrown in against the Helvetii spears on this flank. Frontline will do a great job. Obviously fighting the phalanx from the front is going to be a little bit scary. But again, these guys might be able to do a decent job. They are under a lot of pressure, though, by these spearmen on the back lines, medium spears, who are ready to reinforce and basically just protect the flank. Again, this flank on the left-hand side for the Carthaginians is just a hold flank. They don't want to do anything here. They basically just want to keep all these units at bay so that they can really put the pressure down on this right-hand side, which is obviously exactly what they are doing. And so far, the champions doing a pretty good job. These guys took some missile fire, I think, beforehand, and also did a little bit of fighting with the Oathsworn. So I think they're doing pretty good at taking down these spears from the front as well. We've got a huge engagement over on this side. A lot of clumped up units that maybe could be spread out elsewhere. But both sides are just trying to match one another. Unfortunately, though, there is a bit of missile fire coming into the side, which is not going to be great for the Carthaginians. However, these Iberian champions are a pretty skilled unit. As I said, they're not very good at defending, but on the offense, they have such a high melee attack, they can duke it out with a lot of other units. It's just where they do lose out is, like, against, if we take a look at the Oathsworn stats really quickly, right here, you can see that they have 38 armor, whereas the Carthaginians, I guess they only have 35, so I guess they're not that kind of outmatched, but I guess against like Romans or maybe some heavy Furios spears, they might really struggle. And I really like this wall that they have right now. However, the Carthaginian cavalry, I completely missed this. What the hell? I completely gone around the flank, I guess around this left-hand side, and right now they're very light missile. I mean, Midian cavalry is causing pretty big shocks into the battle line right now, and that's had to draw a lot of the Incerbri cavalry over and also push back their spear line. And right now the Incerbri should be pushing, trying to find their way the Carthaginians should be pushing, putting all the pressure on, because a lot of this cavalry is now out of position, and this skirmisher cavalry is going to be volleying in, keeping the enemy at bay. And yeah, as you can see, this is a perfect opportunity to move in. I don't think there's any swords here, though. There's a unit of spears right there, not too many. But the cavalry is going to unfortunately get countercharged here, which is very unfortunate by Oathsworn as well. That's going to be painful. The cavalry need to be on the move and almost just start rushing their way through and just hitting these guys in the back. Honestly, should be their plan of action, just trying to get into the center. Also, as well as that, the units right here, yeah, you can see this unit of Oathsworn is slaughtering the front line. Some of them are not doing as good, but the Sacred Band are winning along here by about 10-15 kills. As I said, I would assume they'd do way better if they were just frontally facing instead of this weird curve, because more of the attacks you have on, the higher quality your unit is. As well as that, the enemy general is getting peppered by the remaining missile fire, trying to bring him down. But obviously, as you can see, the main excitement is right here, and the cavalry should be just trying to smash into these guys. The infantry right here, this is Oathsworn. Again, they are not solid units. We also do have some light Numidian spear or Libyan spears kind of covering like Alexander himself would do, trying to help cover the cavalry and engage them. And again, this is such a good strategy. Use these light spears to tie down these swords, to tie down these spears, and move your cavalry around. This is exactly what Alexander did in his battles. He would engage the enemy cavalry, leave his spears in to keep their enemy cavalry busy, and then go and hammer the crap into the front line. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now as more cavalry does look to engage. The Carthaginian cavalry should come out on top in this engagement. They don't have as much melee attack, I don't think, but their melee defense, actually maybe not. Comparing the stats once again, yeah, the Impera cavalry is actually pretty scary, as the barbarian cavalry is. And unfortunately, the Carthaginian cavalry just can't find their way through and have been pretty heavily dismantled here. These swords are going to come in here. There's 4 units there with more charges coming in, spears fighting, and unfortunately, I feel really for the Carthaginian player. His cavalry has been kind of dismantled. And this is obviously one of the disadvantages when you have to go into the enemy battle line, is that you find yourself being tied up with more infantry. However, you know, they definitely could try and do some damage still, but they are being pushed back pretty heavily. And is this all the cavalry? No, he's still got a lot of cavalry around here. All this the elephants are moving in as well. Yeah, they managed to kill 1 unit, but they need to keep on quickly going in here, because the longer this battle goes on, yeah, you can already see the Carthaginian cavalry here breaking, which is really unfortunate. Maybe they should try to make more of a distance, kind of like wait with these horses here before really getting committed. Again, they necessarily didn't have to do anything in this battle, because their front line will win this frontline battle. So realistically, I don't think necessarily the Carthaginians had to push again. And when you do have such a heavy front line, it is really imperative that you just hold your position. You don't go too ballsy, and again, you can lose a battle by going really aggressive. I think that's something that maybe might happen here. The Incerbri are looking very strong at this point, because just overextending on this side when necessarily you didn't need to. You just had to wait until your center did break the enemy. However, obviously this battle is not over yet, but some Carthaginian units are being broken down. Yeah, these Libyans are being surrounded now, some cavalry getting stuck in there. I definitely do love the fact that the Carthaginian player brought a lot of this light infantry. Not only does it help fill out your roster when you're spending most of your money on that front line, but you can also do stuff that he did. He brought the cavalry in, he charged the cavalry and the spears into the battle, and then he pulled his cavalry out of that engagement and left the spears there engaging his force so the cavalry could go elsewhere. You know, as I said, it's what Alexander did historically, and it's great to see it actually performing in battle as well. That's exactly the type of stuff that the VDS Impera allows you to do. It allows you to live out your historical fantasies by actually performing proper strategies, which is absolutely amazing. The Sacred Band over on this side are seemingly losing, but again, yeah, they're just not being microed. You really do have to take the time to micro Sacred Band and hoplites by double-clicking them, especially if you're on the offense. Yeah, one little double-click here with the Sacred Band would have brought these guys all the way into combat, and that's definitely something they should have done. You know, considering these guys haven't really been microed, they're already winning as well, pretty much down this entire battle line. And that's why I was saying, the Carthaginian player just held his cavalry line like here, and here, and just didn't push. It was really up to the Incerbri to go in and do it. And because, you know, if he would have waited 2-3 more minutes, all of a sudden this entire center breaks, and then the Sacred Band can start wrapping around to reinforce. They can push forward, and they can help out in these cavalry engagements, and they can do a lot more. But right now, as you push without much support, the cavalry is at a disadvantage for sure, and the Carthaginian player has to do some pretty impressive stuff to win it, because obviously, as I always say, one of the baseline strategies for fighting a force whenever you're outnumbered with cavalry is just fight them on your side of the battlefield. Let the enemy push behind your main battle line and then engage them there. because that allows you to reinforce the battle much quicker with your spears and your other infantry, or even just your own cavalry, whereas your opponent has to go the long way around to reinforce it. So that's why I always recommend, if you are fighting at a disadvantage, always have your fights behind your main battle line, because, you know, if you've got infantry here, that's all it takes, whereas they have to go all the way around and then in, and then you can also run interception and stuff like that, which is super important. However, this center, obviously, as we said, has gone very poorly for the Insurbi, as we always expected. So the Carthaginians can start to bring in more soldiers, but there just isn't much left. These elephants are fighting very well, and these elephants are perfectly killing cavalry. That's generally what I like to do with my elephants, is use them as an anti-cavalry force. Because not only do they scare the enemy cavalry, but the cavalry generally don't do great against them. And they're a great, like, supplement. If you're fighting, if you're outnumbered by a couple horses, you love in a cavalry unit of elephants, and they'll win the day. Obviously, if it does then pin them and pace or missile fire, it's still nonetheless. And these elephants have racked up 61 kills so far, so not bad again, all against cavalry. And we're getting more charges, but yeah, the Carthaginian cavalry is being decimated. But look at this, the Sacred Band has ripped apart this center very, very aggressively indeed. And they are rushing over to this massive cavalry fight to try and help out. We do have the enemy general here as well, the cavalry coming in. Ideally as well, the Carthaginians want to try and keep the enemy in place here, because the Sacred Band, even though they are very tired, I guess they're only active. I guess they weren't really being microed, so they haven't really lost that much energy. They are being pushed over here. On the other side, though, as you can see, the Carthaginians are losing where we expected them to lose on the flanks. They invested a lot in that center, and they are now losing on these flanks, which is another reason why I think they should have played a bit more passive. But again, that's just something that bolt throwers do. They do make you very scared and force you back and make you have to worry about the enemy forces. I'm actually going to be curious. Actually, after this battle, let's take a look. Let's go into custom battle and take a look at how expensive these bolt throwers are, because I'm very, very intrigued, honestly. So far, the bounce power has started to shift back towards the Carthaginians now they've really broken that center. And they've also got their Sacred Band finally in onto the enemy fight as well, into the back of the enemy general, which is a really good charge, obviously. These Sacred Band are winded now, so they're going to be fighting at 80% strength. Still not a bad percentage whatsoever, especially when they're going up against someone who's also winded. And yeah, this general took a pretty horrific charge. Oh my god, this general is getting massacred by the Sacred Band. And you can just see the devastating nature of these Sacred Band when they're not kind of at an angle, when they're fighting. Obviously they're killing the enemy in the back, but even still the Sacred Band do some crazy damage when you can get them all stuck in. And yeah, really, really aggressive. And I wonder if it would have been a better idea. Again, this is not me criticizing at all. This is me just generally wondering if the Sacred Band weren't in phalanx and they just attacked normally, if they would have broken through just because of their sheer quality over the enemy. It would have been very interesting. But killing the Helvetii General is pretty good. These elephants could get a good charge off as well. And you can see the morale shock really, rattling throughout the rest of the Insurbi army, really dropping down. Unfortunately, though, it does seem like they've managed to really wrap up these flanks very effectively. And now they can just kind of really finish off what remains of the enemy. We've only a handful of Sacred Band left, and the cavalry obviously well in favour of the Insurbi. I would imagine victory is there. As you can see, more of the soldiers over on this other side as well. The Oathsworn able to go toe-to-toe and outclass the Iberian champions. But still, I think this is a very nice army for Carthage. I think you could definitely maybe, to save some money, drop like a Sacred Band. Pick up some of the not the Rhodian slingers. I can't remember what they're called. They're not Iberian slingers. They're the ones from the island south. Completely drawn a blank. Pick up some of them slingers with like a really good range. Just snipe any artillery. Pick maybe like 3 of them up, and just play a bit more defensive with the cavalry. And I think this army is extremely deadly. Because then slingers will melt the artillery. And obviously they do get outranged by it, but even still, very deadly indeed. You can see the Oathsworn winning this, which they are always going to do. There are some of these infantrymen as well, still fighting hard. And even the units fighting the phalanxes, like, yeah, these Iberians have done pretty good as well. 87 kills. But it's where the cavalry is involved, which is really racking up the casualties. The elephants as well are being played very well by Carthage, using them as kind of more of a hit and run force, I think, is very, very smart. Carthage are looking to still win this one, and whilst their right flank does hold, they are committing all their men over on this other side to quickly try and just hit the enemy. But the Impera are not going to be caught with their pants down. But the Carthage, I want to see how many kills they get on this. I want to see how many kills that charge actually did. I think it was pretty, yeah, the Carthaginian charge in the back was brutal. These guys are very tired now, so not fighting at a very high strength. 60% of their combat capability is now being used. Yeah, I mean, these Sacred Band do a lot of damage. I really am interested to see how much they do, just like not in phalanx as well. But yeah, look at the kills on these heavy spears. These are the spears fighting the Carthaginian infantry on the far right from the front, and you can see they get 300 kills, which is pretty disgusting. Again, another reason why I think Carthage should have just held off on engaging them flanks, you know. Let the enemy push in, like so. Whilst your main battle line's there, let the enemy push in, and then you can kind of use that extra space to move soldiers around. And, you know, again, they're slow-moving infantry as well, which is really important, as the Carthaginians do get another charge off. But, yeah, something to keep in mind as well. When you have swords on the flank and your enemy have heavier spears, they don't move very fast, and they have to expose themselves pretty heavily if they want to find themselves outflanking you or whatever. So I think, again, just playing defensive, even though you have swords, playing defensive is the play, because you can go ahead and really keep the enemy on their toes, having to micro hard. This cavalry is actually going to charge the elephants, which is funny, as the elephants turn and just sort of mash into them. Oh, I love it. I love elephants so much. And yeah, racking up a decent amount of kills there on the enemy lines. Obviously also taking some serious damage as well. War cries being popped off. The Carthaginian general is not looking great either. And yeah, the elephants are actually going to break now as the battle does wind to a close. The Impera able to claim victory. And we've definitely seen this faction being very strong. But I also think as well, the player playing the Impera is just a very good player as well. I believe this is the same guy who played it in the tournament. And, you know, as to be expected, they are very strong faction, but also it's a very well played faction as well. Because we're getting more cavalry in here just to finish off this battle, breaking the Carthaginians on this side and really seeing off the engagement. So yeah, massive GG to all the players that send these ones in. I would love to get more Davidian Impera battles, especially some sieges as well. So if you guys have any replays, do send them my way. Again, more spicy factions. We've had a lot of barbarians, so it would be cool to see maybe some more Greek battles, some more Rome Carthage battles as well, which we always know and love. Maybe some horse archer like Parthian battles as well. I love seeing them engagements. So yeah, if you guys have any cool replays, send them my way. You know, especially if they're any non-barbarians. We had a lot of barbarians recently. There you go. You can see the armies and the kills. Again, these bolt throwers, I think, paying for themselves for sure, because all these kills were on very valuable units. But you saw how quickly they melted as well. So if you can get in the enemy face quickly with some stingers, I think you can kill these and really make them like punish the player for bringing these for sure. Yeah, that's for sure. The cavalry doing really good for the Impera, and even like, yeah, even their spears doing this one on 300 kills, which is pretty disgusting. Over on the other side, though, again, the Sacred Band doing what they do best, plenty of kills on them. The Spanish warriors as well, pretty nice amounts of kills. Just the cavalry cavalry push probably lost the game, I think, for the Carthaginian player, unfortunately. And yeah, and again, his archers doing not too bad either. Yeah, and even that, like 184 kills on these archers. I don't understand why players don't bring that many archers. Again, I would always bring some to my battles. But what I wanted to see, as long as the game doesn't crash. No, the game's crashed. So yeah, I guess we won't take a look at how expensive them bolt throwers are. But either way, I'm sure that they're relatively cost effective. I don't know. Just sometimes it does make the battle feel a little bit lame. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this battle. If you did, make sure to drop a like and a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.